Hello, Babula. Happy New Year.
Good morning, Cheryl. Happy New Year to you too.
And hello, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. And hello, 2023. My goodness, there's a lot in store this year. And I'm not going to say it's all bad. There's just a lot of change, And I think when there's a lot of change, we have to be quick on our feet and adaptable and work with it rather than ride the wave of it rather than try and go, no, not happening. What do you think?
Yeah, exactly. There's significant change of energy coming in this year because a number of slower moving planets are changing sign and the nodes are changing sign. And when you get that happening, just within a year, a number of planets changing sign, like the slower planets, who might have been in a sign for some years.
Yeah.
That brings a real change of energy. And when a few are doing it, it's pretty significant. So things are going to feel, and again, we're not going to say better or worse because there's so many variables around that, and everyone's own experience is their own experience in their own life and journey.
Yeah.
It's a change in the vibe.
Absolutely. And I think the big one that astrologers are watching is in March when Pluto goes into Aquarius, isn't it? So
exactly.
And we'll talk about that as we go along. But I think the expectation is we'll see a shift in the balance of power and it'll be more equal, and it won't be top down so much power as maybe there'll be a place in the middle where the bottom can come up and the top can come down
exactly.
a bit. Yeah.
And of course, Pluto will be in Aquarius for something like 20 years. So it's not something that will happen overnight, but there's an energetic shift.
Yeah.
And and of course in March, March is going to be a really strong month. We'll talk a lot about that as we get closer because Saturn will also leave Aquarius, where it's been the last 2.5 years, and go into Pisces for 3 years.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot happening. And I was reading that the last time that Pluto moved through Aquarius, that was when we had the French Revolution, right? And I think it was 1789, and the people revolted.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So these are the sort of things that this is just a little taste test this year, but next year when it happens permanently, except for the occasional retrograde, but that's going to be very interesting times that we're shifting into, that's for sure.
Very interesting. So we'll literally get a 3-month period this year from March of a glimpse. Pluto will just sit at that 0 degrees of Aquarius for 3 months, and he's not quite finished with Capricorn.
Yeah.
But we're going to get a glimpse. The door cracks open a little bit, and then next year we'll get a longer period, I think about 7 months of Pluto in early Aquarius, and by the end of next year he'll fully and finally leave Capricorn. So very, very significant, interesting things coming.
Yeah, and you know how each year there's a flavour, and I know you'll talk about this as we go along, but I was just thinking, like the last 3 years, we've been shocked into awareness, right? And now I feel it's like, okay, so what are we going to do with that?
Yes, exactly.
What now?
Where to from here? Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Oh, cool. It's actually, it's sometimes I get a bit, over the past few years, I've gone, oh God, really? Oh God. And we've talked about how relentless all the change is, etc., and how we've been exhausted from it. But this year I feel a little bit excited, even though I know that things are going to be up for grabs, but I don't feel that same heaviness, but it's just going to be different.
Yes, I agree. I think it won't be quite as heavy. And, the big Saturn-Uranus square that's been going on the last 2 years, that's already pulling away and separating, because Saturn is moving away from that square to Uranus. And when it goes into Pisces in March, it will be completely disconnected from that Uranus square. It already is, really. So that's another kind of part of this change. That's been a lot of pressure and quite stressful, that square, for everybody in various ways. It just depends how these things hit and trigger things in our own chart as to how each of us, experiences it, navigates it, and so on.
Yeah. Yes, that's very true. In fact, I remember 2021, I think I said to my daughter, oh, it's just like I'm so tired from all the everything that's happening, the processing. She said, oh, I've had a great year. Got married, bought a piece of land, building a house, got a business that's up and booming. It's like
That's
she
right.
had a great, like everyone's different. And
That's right.
I think she was sort of more, the minority because a lot of people were just going, oh, please, let's get out of
Yeah.
here. But yeah, some people just sort of went right around it.
And and I found this the same. I'm hearing the same from 2022 as the year was ending. Lots of people online and people I know and so on were going, "Oh God, thank God that's over." I'm just exhausted. But every now and then somebody would pop up and say, "I've had a fantastic year."
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting.
So we can only talk in kind of generalities when we
Yes.
talk about this, but hopefully trying to make it as helpful and useful as we can as we go. And
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Well, talking about going, I guess we better crack on with it. So,
okay.
what do you want to start off with?
All right. So I think as usual, we're recording this a few days before. And it just happens that today, which is the 3rd of January, Venus, she's been in Capricorn now for the last 3 to 4 weeks. She's actually moving into Aquarius. And she'll be in Aquarius for 3 weeks. So I happen to have Venus in Aquarius. So I'm like, I like this. So every year, there you go. So every year, we have a Venus return when Venus returns back to where she is in our birth chart when we were born. So Venus in Aquarius is like, this is the principle of love, of the feminine, women, beauty, creative and artistic expression. And we can get real simple and say, what do you love? And I just can write down a big long list of Aquarian words and go, yep, 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 yep. I love all of that. And that's what I enjoy. And that's what I enjoy sharing with people. Like I love astrology and sharing astrology and talking about it. Venus is in Aquarius. It resonates with my heart energy.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
I love talking to people. Like I love talking to you, and I just
yeah.
spreading information around, and yeah.
Exactly. And this is also, of course, as we know, Aquarius is about group energy, group, community, tribe. Who are the people that we resonate with? This is a fantastic period for us to be getting together. And I'm going to say something like Cheryl and I are in a group of friends and we meet once a month. And just yesterday, people kept popping up online in the group saying, once a month is not enough. We need to meet more often.
Yes.
How can we do this maybe every couple of weeks? And everyone was like, yes, we want more.
Yes.
Just occurred to me right now, this is Venus going into Aquarius.
Yeah, I thought that last night. I was laying in bed and I thought, oh, that's why.
Isn't it amazing? So, it's that really wanting and craving and needing connection with those people that we're on the same wavelength with, that we resonate with. Yeah.
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 And it's great when it happens too.
It's great. It's so good. It's so nourishing. We need it. And so Venus is the heart and love. We get to connect and enjoy and feel real genuine connection, because we're sharing, we're coming from we're all different. And that's the other fascinating thing about Aquarius as we come into the Aquarian age. Aquarius isn't homogenous. It's community and group and humanity, but at its best it honors everyone's unique individuality, and we know how individual and unique Aquarians are, right? So it's really honoring everyone's different. But where do we connect, and where are we finding that resonance that, we can come together in community?
Yeah. And I think for people who feel like they're different, I just say, hey, we're all different.
Absolutely.
Come on in, the door's open. That's a really Aquarian thing, to
That's right.
have. Yeah. So yeah.
My young granddaughter has discovered words like odd, peculiar, and different and unusual. And she walks around going, oh, you're so unusual and you're so odd and you're so, and I just have fun with it because I go, yes, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Get your quirk on.
Get your quirk on. Exactly. So that's Venus coming, into Aquarius before this full moon. And so then we come to the full moon on the 7th of January in the Southern Hemisphere. And it's at 16 degrees of Cancer. It will be at roughly 9 a.m. That's Brisbane time, closer to 10 a.m. in the southern states. On the 7th of January, it's a Saturday. So the full moon itself will be at 16 degrees of Cancer. And of course, full moons are always exactly opposite the sun, which is at 16 degrees of Capricorn on that date. So, full moons always carry that energy of the duality of the two signs that are opposite each other in the zodiac, in the circle. So we're in the month of Capricorn, that earthy, pragmatic sign of focus, of business, of goals, of purpose, structures and forms and so on, getting down to business, getting organized. And this Cancer moon, which she'll be in Cancer for 2.5 days or so on that full moon, because the full moon's right in the middle of Cancer. The day prior and the day after, we're still in that Cancer energy. Cancer opposite Capricorn it's all soft and feeling and emotion and nurturing and caring. So it's that very interesting polarity between, like really getting down to business and getting organized and getting systematized and, setting goals and getting serious about things and work and accomplishment. And it needs the balance of Cancer to soften some of that kind of, can become at times quite rigid focus.
Yes, and can lack empathy too.
Can lack empathy.
Yeah, so Cancer brings that empathetic sort of.
That's right.
Like you say, yeah.
That's right. So I often, Cancer, as we know, has got a lot to do with family.
Yeah.
So this full moon is going to highlight family themes, and that can be as basic as you're spending more time with family, or there's things going on in the family, things going on. And, it's such a feminine sign. Of course, the moon rules Cancer. The moon is completely in her home space, home being the operative word.
Yeah.
She's powerful in Cancer. It's where she belongs.
Yeah.
And it's full. So that can really highlight not only family, but lots of emotions and feelings around that. We know how families can be environments, and vehicles, vessels for, emotions to be triggered and so on. So people just might find there's quite a bit going on emotionally in their personal world. Even if it's not family, it's very personal.
Yes. I'm having a little giggle because when I think of Cancerian energy, I think of, because I used to be married to an Italian, or first born in Australia, but Italian immigrant parents. And I always think about us all sitting around the table and my mother-in-law bringing all the food, like always too much food, and the Italians are like, oh yeah, this and that, and it's all love, and you can have a fight, but it's still love, a loving environment, that sort of thing. Yeah.
Exactly. And I don't know astrologically the signs mostly associated with Italy, but that would fit, wouldn't it? That family is everything, and food is like a key factor to that. So you'll find Cancerians, chefs in restaurants, and I think Jamie Oliver, for example, is a Cancer. He's got some strong Cancerian signature. So, anything to do with cooking and food and feeding people, that's one of the main ways that Cancerians express their love, like they're so at home in the kitchen.
Yes, yeah. And I think my mother-in-law was on the cusp of Cancer and Gemini. So
right.
Yeah. So just fitted.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's very strong too, regardless of whether you're Italian or not. But I do love the Italian people. But that family, it's the strength in the group, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, strength.
Exactly. Those bonds of blood and family, those ties are very important in this sign.
Yeah.
I have a Cancer moon. One of my sisters is a Cancer with a lot of planets, and I can see it particularly in her how important family is, like very strongly. So it becomes like your thing, if Cancer is a strong theme in the chart, and a really important thing. And a lot of, you see, it's not a weak sign. People think because it's quite soft and feminine, it's strong. It's a cardinal sign, and Cancer will take action, as all the cardinal signs do, the four of them, in that family arena, in that family personal dynamic,
Yeah. Interesting. And there's some other things going on that day too, aren't there?
Well, there is. The Mercury's got an important function, an important part to play on this full moon, because the full moon's at 16 of Cancer, opposite the sun at 16 Capricorn. And where's Mercury retrograde? At 17 of Capricorn, right on the sun, opposite that moon.
Yep.
So that throws all the kind of issues of communications, and Mercury being retrograde. So there can sometimes be, mishaps and miscommunication and cross wires. And
well, in Capricorn, it could be to do with business, couldn't it?
Absolutely. Business and work. And the usual recommendation in those 3 weeks when Mercury's retrograde, which is 3 to 4 times a year, it's always a fantastic time for planning and preparing and research and working more in the background, like taking care of your bookwork, which a note to self, must do that. It's my least favorite thing to do, but yes, I actually got to get on to that, getting the books up to date, or even making plans and just starting to create how you want to move forward in the year, but to not act on it yet. And there's a few reasons why this isn't quite yet the time to act. In fact, this is a great time to be kind of laying back a bit and resting and catching our breath after the big year and another big year to come. Yeah. I'm just going to say I've had some time out, and it was very needed, and I'm very grateful for it. So it's really helped a lot.
Yes, me too. And I've had a ball catching up with friends and family, and just having that time out, because these last 3 years have been huge. And I just allowed myself, I haven't even started work yet. Again.
Me too. I start next week. So
yeah. Exactly. I'm taking the rest of this week off. It's like, oh gosh, that's so, you really do have to push the refresh button, don't you? And just
absolutely, it's so important, and we're all going through so much.
Yeah. And I was going to say to people too, I think it's really important, and we'll probably do this naturally, but I think if we all take our foot off the pedal year, because it has been big 3 years, and don't do as much as you used to. If there's an opportunity comes up and says, do this now, I'd like to, but you know what? I really need to I just need a bit of time out, and
exactly.
Put yourself first. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And that's not always easy to do, but I think it's a thing we have to practice and remember, and because we do pay a price, don't we, if we just keep going.
Yeah. We get burned out. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And it is intense, what's going on. So I think we're, like, for example, Cancer is a very sensitive, it's sensitive in an emotional way. It's actually quite an intuitive psychic energy, Cancer. So there's a lot of sort of feeling and tuning into everything and absorbing, it's all by the moon. And so it is a good time. I often think of, when the moon's in Cancer, it's a good time to just go in your room and shut the door for a while, just go into the cave, back into the womb.
Yeah.
That's why Cancerians, people often say, oh God, he or she's always retreating into their shed or their room or something. It's a need.
Yeah. I'll tell you a little story. Over the holidays, actually just yesterday it was, my daughter, it was New Year's Day, I think it was, my daughter and her husband went to a friend's place, and they've got a pool. And here she is, she sent me this little clip of herself, and she's a sun in Cancer, okay? That's why I'm bringing this up. and she's on one of those floaties on the pool, right, in the water, and she's miming this song that they're playing in the background, and she's just really happy. I thought, there's a happy little Cancerian in the pool,
Yes.
you know,
She's gone into her own zone. She's
yeah.
on the water.
Yes, loves it.
Exactly. You
Yeah.
know, over the years, I've met many men, Cancerian men, who love fishing and boats. They just want to
Mm,
go out onto the sea, and often by themselves,
yep.
and just get lost for a few hours or a day and just sit there and
Yep.
fish.
Absolutely.
That's right. The
Yeah.
sea,
My father was a Cancerian, and he worked as a dredge master. He was a salvage worker with scuba diving.
Wow.
He was a fisherman. He loved going out on his boat. He had a boat. He lived in
That's
a boat.
right.
I mean, gosh,
Yeah,
they just love it.
that's right.
Yeah.
It's classic. Yeah, it's fantastic. So yes, just be aware that this full moon does carry Mercury retrograde energy, which could, of course, have a bit of an impact in at home, like literally at home.
Yeah.
Whether you live by yourself or whether you're living with family or people, whatever that is.
Mm.
Yeah. Um,
Was there something else happening that day on the 7th?
that's the
Okay.
main
All right.
thing, that
Yeah.
Mercury is, no, nothing specifically on that day. However, the following day, the Black Moon Lilith
Mm.
is going to leave Cancer, because she's currently sitting at 29 degrees and she's been in Cancer for 9 months,
Mm.
which has always intrigued me because that's a gestational period, isn't it? And she's been in Cancer. So the Black Moon Lilith has got a lot to do with what we could call a denied, repressed
Mm.
feminine principle,
Yeah. Yeah.
which has been a big story on planet Earth for some thousands of years. And, and the absolute dishonoring of the feminine. And so she's going to go on the 8th, the day after this full moon in Cancer, she's going to move into Leo
Mm.
and will be in Leo for a big chunk of 2023, the first 9 months till
Wow.
September.
Raw.
So this is more of, that Lilith energy on fire,
Oh my gosh, I'm thinking that song of Helen Reddy, like I Am Woman, Hear Me
Hear
Roar.
me roar. Exactly. Exactly. So like when she's in Cancer, it can be all kinds of issues that come up around what's been hidden below the surface
Mm.
that needs to come up to be healed and reclaimed, on a very, to do with women, children, babies, birthing. I mean, in the world, there's a lot going on in that arena. And in Leo, so I often relate, the Black Moon Lilith and different signs to different parts of the Lilith story, which is a long story. We won't go into it now. But in Leo, this is the feminine, the woman Lilith, who stands up to forces of control and says, not doing that. I know who I am. I've got my crown on my head. I follow my own truth. I follow my own way. I know who I am. So that's going to be the journey for the next 9 months. And it will apply to women largely, but also to men if they're, connected to this in some way and they kind of resonate with this. But so it'll be interesting to see how this plays out and shows up in our own lives and in the world around us. It can also be a really powerful time for creative expression. Leo is a sign that has to
Yeah.
show up, be seen, create, express. So it
Yes.
might show up in theatre, in films, it might show up.
Yeah. It's about sovereignty, isn't it, Leo?
It
Yeah.
is actually.
And yeah.
Just saw a film a couple of days ago with my sister, because we love going to the movies together. We just really like good movies. And it was called The Lost King. I've just thought of this. And it's based on a true story, but it's a great film about King Richard III. And this woman, I must find the chart of the actress, lovely actress, I can't remember her name. I'm curious now. I've got to check that out. But, she wouldn't let this idea go that there must be a way to find King Richard's remains, and she wanted to reclaim the true story about King Richard III, that he's not what he was claimed to be. And she did it. It's a true story. It was fantastic.
Oh, wow.
Very interesting. So there's something important about, you know, royalty in the external sense, but also what does that mean for us to, you know, stop projecting that out there and see someone else has got the crown and ruling over me, putting it on our own head and claiming our own sovereignty.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Very interesting.
So watch out. I think a lot of women are going to be standing strong and standing up and coming out.
Yep. Yeah. Curious.
Very. So we have a bunch of planets, bunch being a technical term in astrology. We have a bunch of planets in January, all coming out of retrograde and moving and turning direct and moving forward, which is really interesting. And by the end of the month, the last one's on the 23rd, and I'll go through them. From then, for about 3 months, there will be no planets retrograde.
Yippee.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. So I'll just kind of run through them. So on the 12th of January, Eris, E-R-I-S, is not something that's used by all astrologers, but she's more and more an outer body, way, way, way out there. In the Kuiper Belt, one that, you know, many astrologers are aware of now and include in their work. So she has been retrograde for many months, and will station at almost 24 of Aries and begin to turn direct. And she's very much, she was known in mythology as the goddess of discord and chaos. But the only reason she brought about chaos and discord and a war actually was because others refused to acknowledge her and include her. So it's about, you know, everybody must be included, everybody's voice must be heard. Right? And this is the consequences if you don't. So yeah, so Eris is going to start to move forward. On the 18th, Mercury will come out of retrograde and go direct. Now, it's so interesting to me that I've found over the years, people experience Mercury retrograde differently. And I know some people actually really like Mercury retrograde. I seem to have quite a hard time of it during Mercury retrograde.
Oh, okay.
But I also want to acknowledge that often really good things come out of it, because that's part of the process of retrograde planets. You know, we have to look more deeply and go back over something and you know, uncover and examine things that we might have been just skimming over the surface of. So Mercury will turn direct, and I always go, yes. It's always pleasing to me when it turns direct. And I forgot Mars.
Yeah,
So
I was just looking up my ephemeris. So I was going,
thanks, Cheryl. Okay, great. So on the 12th, Eris turns direct, and on the 13th, the following day, Mars, the ruler of Aries, turns direct, and Mars has been retrograde for 10 weeks.
Yeah.
So these signify a real shift of energy again, and an energy that's been, you know, moving backwards, so to speak, and going back over old ground.
Yeah.
Is going to start to move forward, and there will be a sense as these planets gather momentum and speed, as they pick up a bit of speed, it'll start to feel collectively like, it feels like we're moving forward again.
Yeah, and I was just thinking, you know, because everything that's been going on, there's been a lot of confusion, but with Mars going direct, that'll sort of help us find our way out of that maze, won't it? Sort of, you know.
It will, absolutely. And so it's Mars in Gemini, and then Mercury, the ruler of Gemini, also, you know, a few days later turning direct. And then on the 23rd of January, Uranus, also a very dynamic planet, has been retrograde for 5 years, will turn direct at nearly 15 degrees of Taurus, so right in the middle of Taurus.
Oh, yes.
So all of these planets, energies, Eris, Mercury, Mars, Uranus, are very dynamic energies.
Yeah, yeah.
And when they will get moving, you know, by the end of January, we will have a sense. So that's why I really encourage people to make the most of this lull.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, use the lull to sort of gather ourselves in a way. Enjoy the, you know, even just driving around in the streets, you know, there's not much traffic. You can just feel it. Everything feels quiet. Me too. It's not so hectic and crazy.
Yes. Yeah. People have slowed down a bit.
Yeah.
A
Yeah.
little bit. A little while.
Yeah. And it mightn't be true for every single person watching this. Everyone's situation is different, but in general, that's the
Well,
vibe.
yeah, well, for not all of us, but a lot of people go back to work today. You know.
I always forget about things like that.
Yes, they go
I
back.
haven't worked a normal job for
Yeah.
decades.
I know.
So yes.
Yeah,
So well, yes,
yeah,
that's
so that yeah. Mm.
mm,
So
that's true. So yeah, so on the 18th of January, and those days when a planet's stationary changing direction, they can be quite strong. You know, it's not like it stops, turns direct, and suddenly everything's moving again. It takes a while for the energy to really pick up momentum. So that it can be quite strong as these planets start to change direction. The day after Mercury turns direct, the Sun will make a conjunction with Lord Pluto, the Lord of the underworld, in late Capricorn.
yeah.
It can be quite a strong day.
So when that happens, you know, what's the energy of that?
It can be quite intense.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, quite strong. You know, the Sun is light, you know, light and energy, but
Pluto's not.
Pluto's not, you know, and I'm sort of getting this image almost of Pluto Hades rising up from the underworld and grabbing the Sun and taking it back down into the dark. So it can be, you know, things can come up, things can arise. There might be, you know, some intense circumstances, situations going on for people. And of course, particularly if people have got a planet or things in their chart around that 28 degrees, around those late degrees. But look, we go through these things all the time, you know, on a daily basis. So it just could be quite a powerful, intense day, but also, of course, transformative, which is what Pluto's all.
Yeah, well, that's what I was going to say. Pluto sort of it brings out the shadow, doesn't it? So into that light, into that sunlight. So it's like, hello, here's the naked truth of yourself. You know?
Exactly, the naked truth.
Here it is. And what are you going to do about it? You know?
Exactly. And that can be, so what can come out of this and what you just spoke of is it could be a turning point, you know. You know those moments and we go, you know what, I can't do this anymore. I'm done.
Yeah.
And something changes.
Yeah. So it's going to be it can be quite uncomfortable, of course. Actually, not it can be. It will be
uncomfortable. Yep.
Yeah, but you know, in the long run, it's like a face your own reality and who are you really? And
yes, and it must be said that Pluto is an agent of crisis in many ways. So sometimes there can be, you know, things like all of a sudden you have to call an ambulance because someone in your household having a
turn.
sudden something's happening dramatically,
Yeah.
and you know, it's okay. I'm not trying to put bad vibes out there, but I'm being realistic. We have to be realistic. So it can be sometimes a turning point in some way through some kind of a crisis.
Yeah.
It can be like a little small crisis. It doesn't have to be a major thing.
Yeah. And
then the following day, the Sun will leave Capricorn. So we start to come out. Well, Venus has already left, right?
Yeah.
She's already in Aquarius, and then the Sun is going to come out of Capricorn. So that will feel, for many and in many ways, a bit lighter.
Yeah. Yeah. And happy birthday to all the Aquarian people out there when that happens.
Exactly. And myself and astrologers in general find that at this time of year, particularly as we come into Aquarius, it's often a very busy time for us. You know, astrologers are starting their courses. Everybody wants a reading because it's the start of the year, but suddenly that Aquarius energy is kicking in. And it's, it's a, as we said, community, friends, groups, future. Capricorn's very past oriented, his history. Cancer, Capricorn love anything to do with history. You walk into a Cancerian's home, you'll see photos of the family all over the place. And Capricorn's home, there's clocks everywhere.
What's in Aquarius? Nothing.
Technology. Yes. Yes. Not a lot of like decoration and like that. It's more like ideas and technology or people. If like I know a couple of people who have quite a few planets in Aquarius in the 4th house of home and family, and the house is always full of people. It's like living in your own little commune in your own home.
Yes, that's true. Actually, my front door is like one of those ones in the hotels you see that swing round and round and round, people coming and going all the time.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's the nature of Aquarius.
Yeah, right. I love it. Well, I think my life's, I've already said it, and I understand it. Why I said it now is I've just decided this year I'm going to be much more social and really spend more time with friends, because like we were saying before, that Aquarian energy, particularly with we were saying about it in Cancer, but Aquarius too, it's about groups, just to, because in the end I was thinking, I've seen some bad news for some people have died in accidents and all sorts of horrible things just in the recent days. And I thought, well, in the end, when you're lying on your deathbed, you're not going to say, I wish I'd spent more time, working.
Yeah, exactly.
Cutting the grass, gardening. Yes, I wish I'd spent more time with the people who really cared about me.
That's right. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's my resolution.
And we feel that, in that month when the sun's going through Aquarius, wanting to reach out, and it just happens, it just starts to happen.
Yeah.
Showing up, and someone contacts you and says, oh, look, we're getting together with so-and-so and so-and-so for lunch. You want to come? Yes, of course I do.
Yes.
Yeah. And on a kind of high level, if you like, Aquarius is also, of course, about where we're going. This is about the future of humanity and raising consciousness. So, yes, it's social, and it's great to meet up with friends and have fun, and it's so important that we humans do that. But it's also those groups and communities that we feel in alignment with as we move forward into the future. What kind of communities are we creating into the new world and the new earth and so on? So that's the real issue in Aquarius. Where are we going and what are we doing about that?
Yeah. That's important. And those little groups joining up with other groups and making a bigger group, those sorts of things.
Exactly. And I will share with everyone, like I went to a fabulous party at your place recently, and it was so much fun. And the Aquarian in you, there's all these different groups that you're connected with, and there were people from all these groups, but it all worked. And you're meeting all these new people, and there's people you know and people you don't know, but there was such a wonderful dynamic. And that's Aquarius, bringing people together from different areas of interest, and just in that mix, you see what happens.
Yeah. It was like that, wasn't it? And I think that's, I knew that the people who would come, even though they were from different backgrounds, like there were UFO people, paranormal people interested in astrology, people who I'd never met before, partners of some of those people.
Exactly.
I knew that we're all on the same wavelength, regardless of what the background was. Yeah.
That's right. And you could feel that.
Yeah.
That's that energy in the room. So Yeah, I just felt to say that because it's a wonderful demonstration of that Aquarian energy in you, and my Venus in Aquarius, she was happy. She was having a lovely time.
Mine was happy too.
So much fun. That's right.
Ah,
But yeah, I agree. I agree. Yeah. I've been just thinking, I've had all this year, Saturn's been sitting right on my Venus.
mm,
It's coming off now. And so I'm going to let my Venus out and have some more fun this year.
yeah. Oh.
Mind you, she's in the sixth house. She does like to do her work, but but see, Venus, it has to be a pleasure. It has to be enjoyable,
Yeah.
not a grind.
Yes, the work you do has to be something you love, then it's not work.
Nothing exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. Um, okay. So so that brings us, of course, on the 22nd to the new moon, the next lunar cycle, which is at 1 degree of Aquarius.
Yeah.
And so, we've having all these interesting markers at those very early degrees of Aquarius, the Jupiter Saturn conjunction at the end of 2020, 0 degrees of Aquarius, such an important moment of such a turning point that was, such a that's what I'm looking for. Just it was a really powerful shift.
Yeah.
And Pluto is going to be sitting at 0 degrees of Aquarius for 3 months of this year and then into next year as well.
Yeah.
So this new moon is very close to that again. It's at 1 degree of Aquarius. So really energizing, activating, opening, that portal, if you like, of Aquarian energy very strongly at that new moon on the
Yeah.
22nd for the following 4 weeks. So it's going to be, I think, a really important new moon.
Yeah. Yeah. New moon in Aquarius conjunct Pluto. Woohoo, look out.
Yeah, well, Pluto
Yeah.
won't have gone into
Oh,
Aquarius yet. It'll be close. It
close.
will be actually conjunct by
Yeah.
degrees, but Pluto will still be in late Capricorn. But you're absolutely right. It will be conjunct.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
indeed. So interesting, isn't it? It's like an image of, those forces of control
Yep.
sitting right up against that Aquarian new moon, the people, because Aquarius is really representative of the people.
Yes. Yeah. And
All
it's
power to
like,
the people.
yeah. And we've been talking about groups, being involved in groups, but being involved in groups who get us, who
That's right.
understand, like I said before, on the same wavelength. Yeah.
That's right. And forming these important connections as we move forward during this incredibly intense time
Yeah.
on planet Earth. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
I think that's going to be important in the future. We need, don't we? That too. We need to really build and like really have these connections with people on the same wavelength. It's
Yeah.
not just for fun. It is for fun, but it's a lot more than that too, isn't it?
More than that happens, doesn't it?
A lot more than that. That's right.
Yeah, there's I know with our little tribe when we get together, we have fun and we laugh and for a while we have respite from the things that have been going on in
That's right.
the world. But there's something else that happens. There's a connection of the energy and it stays with us
It does.
for days and days afterwards. It's so I understand why people want to get together more, and I'm one of them, more
That's
often,
right.
because you want to retain that connection to that energy, which is revitalizing.
It
And
is.
it's also, I was thinking before you were talking about, I can't remember exactly what it was, but when people are positive, when people feel more positive, they make better decisions,
That's right.
make much better decisions. And yeah, so I think that's really important.
Yes, because there's a lot of in the last few years, a lot of separation and isolation, which has been, deliberately imposed, separate people and keep people disconnected. And there's a very good reason that's been deliberately done, because it makes people depressed and
Yep.
feel alone. Not having that.
Yeah.
We really need to people, humanity need to be connected, particularly now and moving on.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
And we can stand up then and stand in our own power. And that's what
Exactly.
the point is.
And together. That's
Yep,
right.
together.
That's right. So it's really very interesting that the new moon's on the 22nd, which we'll talk about this next time, of course. And the next day, Uranus, the ruler of Aquarius, turns direct.
Mm.
So around those days of the 20th, 22nd, 23rd, and so on, that Uranian Aquarian energy is going to be very strong. So interesting things could happen that are really surprising. There can be sudden, revelations. It is a sign of revelation because it's really Aquarius and Uranus, the ruling planet, are all about consciousness.
Mm.
The light of consciousness, expanded consciousness,
Yeah.
and awakening. So interesting. Stay tuned, to see.
Yeah.
Those few days are going to be really, I think, powerful and very, it's going to be revelations and insights and realizations and things going on in the public arena too that might even be a bit shocking, but
Mm. Mm.
ultimately liberating.
That's a tremendous forward momentum, isn't it? It's
Very much so.
Yeah.
Very, very much so. Absolutely. Through this month, there's these shifts and movements, and some of it won't all be comfortable and easy.
Mm.
But that's why I say, when you get a chance to take a bit of time out, do, because things are going to start moving.
Yeah. Yeah.
Over
And
the next.
yeah, and I've said this before, but and some people won't remember anyway, but I always think of Aquarius as dolphin energy. I don't know why I relate it to that, but it's spontaneous, creative, opportunistic, and it rides the currents, So yeah, it's very opportunistic with the currents. So this is what I'm saying, people to be quick on their feet, to be responsive, and just sort of go with the flow. That's the other thing, go with the flow. It's very Aquarian to do that. So
yes, that's fantastic. And of course, the color we associate with Aquarius mainly is like an electric blue and aqua even.
Yep, that marine color.
Yeah, amazing.
Yeah, so ride the waves.
And of course, we know how intelligent and conscious dolphins are. And how their social systems and the big family groups, the way they communicate, and whales too, the way they communicate even around the whole planet.
Yeah.
And that it would see many say they're very connected to the stars and the star systems.
Yes, that's true.
Makes complete sense to me, because Aquarius is to do with the stars.
And if you see a dolphin, you rarely see a dolphin by itself. Have you noticed? They're always in pods.
Exactly.
Because there's strength in community, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So, but if you do see someone out there struggling by themselves, take them under your wing, bring them into your pod, say, hey, you need a hand, come with us,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Absolutely.
Anything else?
Yeah, so that's, and then on the 27th of January, at the end of the month, Venus leaves Aquarius and goes into Pisces, which we'll talk about that.
Yeah.
So Aquarius is quite a high energy sign, and it's as an air sign, it's to do with the mental plane. So our minds are going to get, here's something important. Our minds can get very activated, and sleep can be disturbed. I'm just letting everyone know that that's one of the things that can happen, is this Aquarian Uranus energy really sort of starts to move and kick in, particularly around that. As the sun goes into Aquarius on the 20th, the new moon, Uranus moves forward. I go, God, I hardly had any sleep last night. There might be a few days of that going on, but
I've been through that.
For the mind and what was that?
I've been through that, because when that was happening for me last time, because it affects your nervous system.
It does.
Yeah, so it's like a super bolt of electricity is going through your nervous system, so you don't actually fully deeply relax as much.
Yes.
But you somehow manage and go because you're on fire.
That's right. It's right. It's like there's an awakeness. It's awake, it's a sign of awakening. So, wake up at 1 o'clock in the morning, doing, and go, 2 hours later, I think I might just get up and get on with the day.
Yeah. It's amazing what you can get done at that time in the morning, I can tell you.
Amazing. It's
Yeah.
amazing, exactly.
Yeah.
Not that I enjoy not having sleep, but it might happen the odd night. You might just go, I can't sleep.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm very excited about what's going to happen, and I'm very excited about being alive on planet Earth at the moment.
Yes. Yes.
I'm so curious about what's coming.
Me too. I mean, I've always been someone who said, oh, I want to stick around and see how things happen. But I must say there's been moments in this last year where I've gone, I think I'm done. Can I go home now?
Yeah. Yeah, me too.
But I'm back in this place of, oh, things are getting very interesting. Let's see what's coming next,
Yeah, there's a sense of intrigue, isn't there?
Mm. And amazing potential,
Yes, yeah.
Mm.
Well, that's true when a lot of people are more alert, more aware, they've awakened, and that's happening more and more all the time. It's like, well, where does an awakened population, what does it look like? Like in my lifetime, I've not seen a very awakened society around me that I exist. I've seen
No,
people following patterns that they've followed for a long time, but it's
right.
like with all this Uranian stuff that's been going on, it's like it's broken all of those,
Yes.
and now it's all open, and it's like, well, okay. This is what I was saying before with Mars. It's like, so what do we do with it? Where do we go?
That's right.
Direction,
That's right. It is literally, a waking up out of the matrix, out of the spell,
Yeah,
out of the program.
yeah.
Mm.
Very interesting.
Mm.
There you go. Well, everyone, I hope you found that interesting. As interesting as I did. And because everything you say is always very interesting, but super duper, because it's getting closer now, you see.
Yes.
It's going to be upon us very soon. I'm just so curious what's going to happen in March. But anyway,
yeah, lots to talk about when we,
yeah,
later in February as we approach that March period. Lots of interesting things.
Yeah. So stay with us, and we will be back in another 2 weeks for the next lunar cycle. If you enjoyed this episode, please like it, leave your comments, and share around with your astrologically minded friends or those you want to awaken to astrology. And we will see you again in another 2 weeks. So until then, bye for now.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.